Nigeria's finance minister, Zainab Ahmed, says the country has improved in major indices of economic growth. The finance minister said inflation has continually declined since 2017 from 18.72% to 11.08% in July of 2019. On this segment, we will be speaking about Nigeria's economy, and I am being joined by Dr. Femi Egbesola, the National President, Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, we have a familiar face as well, Gospel Udele, an economist. Very glad to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
This is agenda setting.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, should top her agenda for the next 4 years?
Well, I think all hands will be on deck to ensure that we increase and improve our GDP. Yes, the population of the country is growing so high, and this is not incommensurate with the growth of our GDP. So if we really want to be above board, we need to work on improving and increasing our GDP. And that's why government needs to really go back to the drawing table to see how they can bring better policies that will be able to engender economic growth, such that the key players in the industry will be empowered to be able to do more. Good enough this time, we're having a lot of other programs coming up on board to stimulate economic growth. One of such is the current Africa Free Trade area, the Continental Free Trade area, whereby we will be able to now sell without borders all over the continent. How prepared are we as a country? How can we take advantage of this opportunity that this portends? If we really want to be prepared, it means that we need to support people in medium and small business, particularly people in small business. You will discover that we have a lot of people in the informal sector, even those in small business, but are categorized maybe as formal, are not doing really as they should be expected to do. And these are the people that will create the jobs. It's not the duty of government to really create jobs. Rather, it is a duty of the SMEs to create jobs. But what government needs to do is to make sure that they create an enabling environment whereby the SMEs can thrive. That's the challenge we've been having in this country over time. The SMEs has been underperforming, and we need to look at how we can assist, how government can assist, not just by policy alone, but by implementing these policies, by making sure that the dividends of these policies get down to the target audience, the target people that can make use of it and turn the economy around.
I'm still going to pose that same question to you. What should top her agenda? I presume you agree essentially with what he has said.
Yes, a few things. For me, I would want to say three important things. Number one, we need to fix the structural deficits on ground, structural/infrastructural deficits, and in its different components, it has to be fixed. Number two, we need to fix education, and talking about formal and informal education. And we need to be able to get that human capital mix right with the growing population. Number three, we need to alleviate poverty and deal with poverty in its different components still. The reason why I use the word component is because we can't think of either of these things from a one-side perspective. They exist in different perspectives. So until we deal with them in their different pockets, then we are really not heading anywhere as a nation. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some of the issues, and topmost right now in most Nigerians' mind is the budget. The 2020 budget. The Senate President has, asked the executive to ensure that this budget comes on time. And the executive had assured earlier this year or sometime last year that they will try to revert to the cycle of a January-December budget. Do you see that as a possibility this time around with this finance minister? And will they be able to deliver on the budget as proposed?
All right. So yes, the argument has been that the 12th calendar month structure of the budget. But I mean, I want to also say that although the budget has been passed in the last 2-3 years in May, it also runs to April the following year. So even if you do January, December, it's about the same thing, May to April. The conversation is not really on the 12th calendar months of the budget. The argument is a structural design of that budget, right? The makeup of the budget, the component of the budget, how the budget is being designed, how it's being financed, particularly, the revenue side, and the many loopholes around revenue collection, revenue mobilization, and resource allocation. And then the questions on recurrent/capital expenditure and all of that. So there are deeper issues to focus on when it comes to the budget than the 12 calendar month period. And the budget is just a financial or a financing instrument for policy initiatives. So there are a wider range of issues to deal with.
What are these issues you keep alluding to? Can you highlight some of them?
Yes, I stated a few of them. Number one, the revenue structure of the budget. We need to rework the revenue structure. On taxes, we need to improve the tax collection. We need to, in terms of efficiency of tax collection, not necessarily by increasing the tax net, in as much as that is very important, but a quick win will be improving the efficiency of tax collection. Then we need to close gaps around the non-oil sector. Revenue gaps around there are too many loose ends around getting revenues from businesses around who operate in the non-oil sector. And even in the oil sector, there are many leakages too. So until we close that budget gap, and then you have about almost the same amount as your capital expenditure being used at debt servicing. So when you have that kind of situation, then it means that you're literally in a fix as an economy, because a chunk of your budget is used to run your recurrent expenditure. Another sizable chunk is used to service your debt. So structurally, the budget has lost that ability to really finance economic initiatives. So we need to improve the revenue side, and we need to rework our expenditure as a nation, basically.
Okay, you talked about taxes, so I'm going to go to that area for a bit. There's this controversial VAT variance and in tax targets. I don't know if you are very familiar. And the actual collections, we had the situation with the FIRS boss not so long ago. But in January, the same minister talked about working on modalities to increase VAT and on some carbonated drinks and luxury items. How do you think she's going to address this? Let me ask you, is that an area you're comfortable with?
Well, not too well, because let me start from where he stopped, talking about the budget. There are different ways of gauging the success of a budget, and to an average common man, it's about his livelihood. Has it improved his livelihood at the end of the day? Is he faring better or worse? Without gainsaying, the past 2 or 3 years has not been too good for an average Nigerian. And that means that it is also possible that maybe it has resulted to a decrease in his income or her income. If there's a decrease in income by an average Nigerian, will it be fine to now continue to tax that Nigerian the more? So you are not going to get the best out of that country or economy at that point in time. And that's why some of us in the BMOs, that is Business Membership Organization, are shouting against increasing any form of taxes this time. Rather, what we have in place, the taxes we have in place, the relevant agencies should work better at maximizing collection of such taxes rather than increasing or imposing new taxes.
How can the minister maximize the medium and scale enterprises to push the economy forward?
The first is that the small and medium enterprises are not collated and grouped the way they should be. If you look at the BMOs, you will discover that those that are under the umbrella of the BMOs are insignificant to those out there that are not organized. So the government of the day needs to, first of all, bring out policies that will assist the BMOs to be able to bring under their umbrella people of like minds, people who do some related things together. And that is the time it will be easier for a group of people to be able to approach government and pay taxes. When it comes to government trying to collect taxes on their own, yes, they may succeed very well collecting taxes from medium and big industries because you can identify them, but how many market women can you go and meet? What do they have the capacity to employ enough human capital to go here and there to meet everybody to collect taxes? The answer is no. There must be other form of way or channel of getting these taxes. Also, too, is the fact that some of these taxes are not too good they do not bear the realities on ground. Somebody doing a business and its profit is about 100,000, and you have some taxes that are already fixed, so to speak, not in terms of percentage of your profit alone, but fixed from one ratio to the other. That's not going to work. We also have a lot of multiple taxation in the economy. So many multiple taxation that instead of encouraging businesses, are killing businesses. And that's why you discover that many businesses are not growing today. You ask yourself, what's the last time that you can remember that a small business has grown to a big business? A small business that started 10, 15 years ago is now like the Dangotes of this world, the Nestle food of this world. It's not there now. And that brings to mind that something is wrong somewhere. Something is really wrong somewhere. One of it is this issue of taxes. So many organizations have come up these recent times to tackle the issue of taxes, to see how we can advocate and let government understand that we must have a different mindset when it comes to taxes. Unfortunately, it's not yet yielding results that we want, but we will continue to shout.
Sure. Exactly. Let me come back. I want to take you up on something you said earlier. You said there are some sectors, areas that need special attention. You talked about the non-oil sector. What, in specific terms, do you hope to see the finance minister can do to help expand that area?
The non-oil sector?
Yes. You talked about the non-oil sector.
So I think fixing the non-oil sector or making it vibrant in itself is way beyond the portfolio or the work of the finance minister.
Yeah, she has, there are other ministers, trade, investment, there has to be some sort of synergy.
Collaboration and synergy, yes. So, but then it has to come from, there has to be a genuine political will. So let me give you an instance. The new ministerial list that was released, you'd notice that the president retains himself as
Minister of Petroleum.
Now that's to let you know that there is no political will to strategically look away from oil. That's what that means. So if that alone sets the tone for the next 4 years or the second term, and it's going to let you know that, I mean, not too much will be done or should be expected on the non-oil sector, because the focus and the energy is still on oil. So because we don't have that in place, it means that lots of the challenges we have now most likely will continue. And if there's any increase, it will not be any significant increase in itself. So then to answer your question, if we were to be the reverse of the situation, the focus would be on probably science and tech, education, or manufacturing or something else, you know. And then the base for fixing that sector, that's the non-oil sector, will be first infrastructure. Fixing infrastructure. Secondly, education, because when you have infrastructure and you have a populace that are not educated on how to use that infrastructure, they're literally going to run it down in a couple of years. So you fix the infrastructure, then you educate the people, not in the sense of how to use the infrastructure, but you improve the level of awareness, commercial awareness, and ability to do things better. And that, in turn, informs the behavioral patterns of people in that economic space. And all of that in its entirety, and you know, and then improving standardization of products, you know, and you have all of these little things, and then open the export corridors, fixing conversations around access to markets and the likes. You would create that interactive chain around non-oil sector. So, I mean, it has to do with, first of all, the political will. And once we don't get that right, we can't get infrastructure right, we can't get education right. And there's something about education I need to add. The conversation has been increase the budget of education, I mean, for me as an economist, I personally think even if you increase or double the budget for education, in as much as I agree that it's a solid argument, nothing will still be done, because even the reform strategies that we need to put in place are not in place. We do not really have them, or even if we have them, there's just a bottleneck somewhere on that value chain, you know, that impedes the flow of that execution or implementation. So if you double the education budget times 2, you may not still have any significant impact. So there are strong structural issues, there are misalignment points that need to be get rid of, or we need to improve on, you know, for things to work, especially in the non-oil sector. But like I mentioned, with the president retaining himself as a petroleum minister, we are not in any way optimistic for the second term on non-oil.
All right, gentlemen, I must say thank you very much. Time is always short when you're having so much, intense conversation. I would have loved to get your quick thought on the issue of taxation, but I know you go on for a little longer. I'll just have to pause here. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right. We go on a short break, and when we come back, the conversation continues. This time, we'll be looking at the education sector and prospects for improvement by this new crop of ministers. Do stay with us.